Good morning, Commanders. Welcome to another day in Star Trek Fleet Command. In today's video, we're going to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to the new Eviscerator ship. This will be a new way of looking at mechanics and things that Scopely releases. Well, we'll talk about, in my opinion, the things that are good, bad, and ugly, and then I will let you in the comments below tell me if you agree, disagree, or if you have other things that I maybe didn't cover in the video that you think would be good, bad, or ugly. Okay, so before we jump into it, if you are new or if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me to grow the channel. And as a reminder, I am streaming tonight on Twitch, so hopefully I'm getting this video out this morning, so if you don't know, you'll be able to be aware of that. And tonight we'll be giving away free battle pass, so about 7:30 p.m. Eastern time is when I will go live, is the plan. Be doing that each week, just having fun as the Twitch channel is starting to get some more followers, and just having more fun with the community that way. It's really fun to be able to interact with you, learn from you, grow together, and whatnot. So yeah, feel free to join. You can join. I'll put the description or link in the description below, and you can always see the Discord and join my Discord as well from the description below. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So let's pull up the ship, we'll talk about it, and then we'll talk about some of the things that I think were good or not so good about the ship. So the Gorn Eviscerator goes along the theme that we are continuing to go through in this arc, and that is with the Strange New Worlds crew and hitting the Gorn and using this ship to do so. So has a couple of abilities, increases isolytic damage against Gorn hunters by 200%, and since it's in green, remember that that is going to increase as you tear up the ship. Rigorous extraction increases the amount of apex isomatter gained when defeating Gorn hunters by 5,000%. So this is really going to help you with taking out the Gorn, specifically the apex, which is the new loot that you get from the hostiles. Okay, so same thing there. So there's the ship. I should go back into it. I apologize. One last thing we wanted to look at is the spatial rip. Opens a spatial rip in the system the Gorn Eviscerator is currently in. Your ships and alliance members can travel through to any system within their player grade. So depending what level of player you are, you're going to have a certain kind of bracket, so to speak, of systems that you can get to, and this ship will help you get to that, but not beyond that. The system will actually give you a warning that tells you you can't travel to that system. So that's interesting, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here. What are the good things? The things that I liked about the Gorn Eviscerator ship. Firstly, there is a free-to-play path in the first month. So we haven't seen it yet, but it is going to be, from my understanding, and truth be told, I haven't unlocked the ship yet, but I've watched between some streams, live streams that I've attended, as well as reading in Discord and talking with players through Discord, kind of living through players since I decided not to get the ship this month. I'm going to free to play it, but there is a path. And so what's going to happen, my understanding, is going to be much like the Cerritos, where we will have a weekly event and you'll be given shards from that event, kind of like the Cerritos, where you complete the event and get some blueprints for the ship. And my understanding is it's going to be like a 90-day or 3-month period. Now that kind of fits with the current kind of mentality of Scopely. I do miss the days when we used to be able to, you know, get half unlock or a full unlock even of a ship in the battle pass if you pay for the elite track, but those days are gone. So sadly, we don't have that anymore as of this recording of this video. Secondly, I also like the sourcing of officers right away. When you get the ship, you will have immediate sourcing for last month's officers as well as this month's officers. So far, just looking at it without doing additional testing, It looks like Nurse Chapel is, you know, still one of the bright stars, but it does look like the James Kirk, and I'll do a video about him at a later time, but seems like he's the epic this month. James Kirk is going to be, could be a pretty good officer. So we'll have to test him out as a community and see where that goes. Okay, secondly, and I have done testing where I have done my own hitting with my own ship, and I can get a decent amount, enough to do some regular turn-ins for the Apex, even though I don't have the ship. But you will be able to get, even though you have to go to a lower level system to do it, you, even at tier 1, will be able to get a decent amount of the new loot. Something else that I also really like is that they didn't come out technically with a new loop, but I'm going to call it a piggyback loop, where we have the same hostiles that you have to hit from last month. And those who are looking at this a later date, I'll just show you really quick on the screen here. My system's a little different where I have to go, but right here is where you start. Panostro. Okay, so you go here, and then mine is up here, but it just depends where your systems are. So, but here's where you would start. Okay, so you have the same hostiles that you're hitting, and all Scopely did was they added the new loot to the hostiles. So we have last month's Violet Isomatter, and then they've got the Apex Isomatter this month. One other good thing that I liked, pull this up here on the screen, so is the refinery. One thing I did like is it looks like, based upon the community's feedback, that it's based solely upon tier and not ops level, which I think is great, because oftentimes you'd have a higher level ops like myself and you'd have to hit much higher hostiles, and you couldn't do it unless you could tier your ship up. And so that was always a frustration. I remember having that, or seeing that, talking with some higher level players at the time when Swarm came out. It was very hard for the upper levels to hit those. Couple of good things, and just some thoughts that I have, and from what I've talked with different players, is that you're going to be able to source this PvP artifact. You're going to be able to source recruit shards, and you're also going to be able to get ship parts. Ship parts are always needed in the game, and I do love that you get recruit tokens or shards, whatever you want to call it, right away, so you can start sourcing these officers. And like I said before, you're getting last month and this month's officers, so that's great that you get immediate sourcing. And immediate meaning that even for the free-to-play, at least you can start working on the ship this month, and it's not like the Monavine where you have to wait, you know, multiple months, or it's locked behind only certain territory services, something like that. One thing that you might want to consider is, do you hold off on this turning in the ship parts until later? Maybe you tier up your ship before you start pulling those, because I believe I've been told that there is a selection in the refinery, and you'll have to determine which one you want to turn in. Are you a G4 player, G5 player, or potentially, if you're watching my video, G6 player? So maybe you want to save up so you can do some higher level turn-ins later on. That'll be up to you to decide when you do unlock it. I would say that ship parts are a needed thing. That's one thing why I put it in the good part of this, is because ship parts are always needed. We know that. I mean, Scopely makes it hard to get ship parts. You have to buy packs for a lot of it, but they have a number of different loops that they've added to the game over time that do offer ship parts, so that's fantastic as far as that goes. Something that's kind of not great about it is it's going to take a long, this is where we shift into the bad, right? But it's going to take a long time to tier. My understanding, listening to, I believe it was Blue Mandalorian that was on Lube Stream, but it sounds like the analysis being done here is that it is going to take a long time to tier and get up to a point where you're getting some of those higher level refineries. For me as a G5 player, I'm really interested in the rare, and so that's what, like tier 10 before I get any rare at all. So that's disappointing. That means if this was really, really, really valuable to me and I thought it was going to hold me back, you may want to consider that, you know, getting started on it sooner may be worth it to you. So that's something that you will have to decide. My understanding is the warp range is horrible. They do have, let's hop into the base because I don't know a quicker way to get to research. They do have some research to help out with some of this stuff. Warp range and loot. So let's hop into the starship tree, go to the very end. Okay, so the warp boost. And here's one other thing that you'll have to consider. I'll talk about the research in just a second here, but the same parts that you get from the refinery that you will spend on upgrading the ship, you also have the same parts are used to do the research, which I think is a miss. That's just me, but I wish that the parts to upgrade the ship, like the Monavine, you have different parts for upgrading the ship that you do for the research. So maybe they offer enough. We'll have to see that. Maybe it's not a huge bottleneck, but you're going to have to decide, are you doing research or are you doing upgrading the ship? So that'll be up to you. Looks like 10, 20, 30. Looks like it's jumping up 10 per level until you get to the last couple. And then we jump 20 per level. But you're going to need to be able to get this, for me as an Ops 56 player, to get up to a decent level. Good thing that it has such a good boost for doing the Apex at a lower level system. Okay, so anyways, there's the warp boost, volatile, isomatter gained with the Gorn Eviscerator, and then also isomatter gained the Gorn Eviscerator. And I talked to someone about this in my Discord, but it looks like they copy pasted the description, doesn't it? Isomatter. This, I think, should say Apex. So I don't know for a fact, haven't been able to do testing, but I think they probably copy pasted. I think this is supposed to say Apex, and so that's a scopely miss there as well. Hire an intern to make sure and catch these little things. Come on. I mean, how hard is that? Okay, so warp range is horrible, but you can do it here, and then this will help with your farming as well. The other bad that I noted is this, that it seems to me like you can take the Gorn Eviscerator, you can't take it to a higher level system. You'll take it to a lower level system, and since its ability focuses on the new loot increase, instead of the benefit that you, I think that Scopely kind of did well was adding the loot to the hostel. The thing that doesn't work well, in my opinion, is that you're going to have to take the Eviscerator once to hit the to get the Apex loot, which at tier 1, my understanding is you still get a decent amount of loot that, you know, works well, but you won't get the isomatter. So you're still, at least initially, it looks like you're going to have to take out the Eviscerator to hit, and then you're going to have to take out your bigger ship to hit. I don't know how long it's going to take to where that kind of bounces out, right? But that's kind of something that you'll have to think about when you first start doing your runs. Let's hop back into the ship and let's talk about the ugly. So the ugly, obvious, is the ship. I mean, look at that. It's hideous. I haven't watched the series, I admit, but this thing looks ugly. I don't know if it fits very well, why they have the nacelles Federation parts there. Maybe that's why it makes sense. I don't know. Maybe there's something in the show that explains that. But that's certainly ugly. The other ugly part that I would say is this, is that we had a couple of different content creators that put out videos, and I'm not going to shame them at all for this, but the message that was put out to the community was that this spatial rip was going to allow, say, Ops 38 level player to be pulled into like a 60 level system, so they could get a lot of loot from armadas. You know, they'd run it, they'd get the leader box, they might get a little bit from being in the armada. Their ship would obviously blow up if they had some bigger level players that were helping to kind of anchor or support them in running and beating that armada. So that was a communication that was put out, but not true, because we have your player grade here that kind of factors in. So from that standpoint, where the communication clearly was put out, and I can only assume that this is what was either told or interpreted. I mean, when I listened to Lube's stream, cheers on Lube, because he had it right when he talked about it. This is how he put his video out about this. But then other content creators, and I don't want to name names, but gosh, they put out communication, and maybe it was Scopely's fault for telling them incorrectly. That's the direction I am leaning on this, or a misunderstanding, I don't know. But whenever you put out into the world that here's this huge benefit that you're going to get, and then people actually spend money to buy it thinking, oh, I'm going to be able to help lower level players out, this is going to be great, and then it doesn't work like that, that's a huge miss. That's like giving an employee a raise at work for taking on some additional responsibility, and then, you know, a couple weeks later going and saying, you know what, you're not really doing as much as we thought, so we're going to take your pay back down and give that job to someone else. It's like, come on, you just gave that to me. Or I don't know, whenever you take a benefit away, even if it's a perceived benefit, there's a huge negative kind of backlash that can come from that. So Scopely, you need to be careful about your communication, not just making sure you're communicating regularly to the community, but the messages you're putting out, if they don't match reality, then that, in my opinion, is a huge miss, and that's something that you need to correct. So all things considered, what's my opinion of the ship? I think all things considered, I think the ship is great for getting the Apex isomatter. It has the ship parts, it has the officer shards. It's not enough for me personally to want to spend $100 to unlock the ship right away. Are the officers valuable? For sure. Chapel, I'm going to be able to source and even hopefully tear up a couple of times in the event store. The refinery doesn't benefit me right away. There are other refineries in the other refineries in the game that offer ship parts. You've got, for example, the Bajoran loop. You've got the Voyager. You've got the NX-01. I think people are getting close to unlocking. So there's multiple loops that are often offering ship parts, and so it's not like they're getting materials or extra speed ups or really big pain points in the game that are, you know, making a big difference. Plus, I'm not at the point where I am struggling to hit the hostiles and get the isomatter I need for some of the turn-ins. And so for me, it doesn't make a big difference. Now, if you're an ops level 40 player and you want to start doing this loop and you're really struggling with it, maybe it's a buy. You know, maybe this ship is something that's going to help you do the loop, or maybe you see value in the officers that I don't. Personally, long term, I think it's definitely a ship worth grinding for. I think that for me and my budget, if it's more of the free-to-play kind of category, with all things considered, but I'll leave it to you. What do you all think? Do you think this is worth $100? Do you think that the value you get out of it is sufficient enough that it's helping you out? Please leave your comments below. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you, and let me know what you think. So that's the video for today. Hopefully it's helpful. Feel free to hit me up on Discord or in the comment section below. I'll do my best to help you as best I can. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you next time.